So we went from being the customer in Web 1 to being the product in Web 2. And now in Web 3, we have a really interesting opportunity where we can both be the content creator and the beneficiary to monetize that data. And at Rex, we're taking full advantage of this technology and we're applying it to the real estate industry. So a little bit about Rex. It's a global transaction portal and real estate marketplace. So we're syndicating the world's real estate networks into a decentralized marketplace where the data is sourced, validated, and secured via the Ethereum blockchain, smart contracts, and crypto economics. So where the incumbents from Web 2 are profiting from siloing our data behind expensive paywalls, Rex enables users to own, maintain, and control their data. So the benefits of this, in addition to increasing access and decreasing cost, is that we can begin to create global real estate data standards. So the blockchain has done a really good job at creating the first global standards for the way that we send, receive, and store money. And we're applying that to real estate information or real estate data. And what we can do is we can begin to create universal property identifiers. And this will be key to going from transacting these digital assets that we're currently using these contracts for to transacting physical assets like real estate in a much more secure and efficient manner. So in Web 2, we have another problem that we wanted to solve, and it's spam and stale information. So the incumbents right now spend about 80% of their resources on creating complex machine learning algorithms, and the balance, the 20%, on human curation, which is really expensive. So what we said was, well, let's take advantage of the blockchain and crypto economics, and let's have each market run autonomously so that each market can determine what they think is spam and not us. So we actually created a derivative of AdChain's token curator registry, in that we said for every listing that's uploaded into this ecosystem, that user is going to be rewarded, they're going to be compensated, with the caveat that if one of their peers flags that listing and it goes to arbitration and the balance of the community votes in favor as that being spam, then that user doesn't get the reward, and we've provided some economic incentives for the people that have voted to provide the best possible data. So here's an abstract of how our dissemination process works. So the user uploads a listing on Rex's application layer. Rex's application layer then sends that data to IPFS, who creates a cryptographic hash and then disseminates it throughout the IPFS network, passing that hash onto Rex's UI, who handles the transactions and then pushes the hash onto the Ethereum blockchain. So as we began to test this with users from Web 2, we ran into a bottleneck in the transaction component, where there was a fair amount of these users that said, we don't want to go to the secondary market and exchange fiat for ETH and then send that to Rex. So we as a team put our heads together and said, look, we can't not pay attention to this. I mean, it's about 50%. So what we did was we came up with what we call the subscription model. Excuse me. And the subscription model, in its basic form, the user pays fiat once a month, which is then processed into Ether and then deposited into this subscription contract. So that every time that user engages in a transaction on the Rex application layer, it calls the Ethereum blockchain, it forwards that gas fee on that user's behalf. So that user still has to sign the transaction. They're still participating in Web 3, but they don't ever have to leave Rex's native application to participate in this network. So we had these two users, the non-subscriber who pays their fees, and then the subscriber. Then we had a third type of user that came to us, and this was the enterprise or the larger organizations. And they came to us with a really interesting problem. They said, I'm company X, and I have offices here in the United States, in China, and in Australia. And we're using 3 different portal providers in each one of those countries that don't communicate with each other. So for us to do an international transaction, even in-house, is extremely inefficient. So we said, we've got a solution for you. We're going to help you guys centralize to decentralize. So these organizations now can spin up their own servers. They can take back control of their data. And then they can contribute, or they can port that data through our enterprise API that we've created and choose what data they want to participate into this public ecosystem. And not only that, they can pull data back into their private ecosystem. So how this API or endpoint works is it takes a CSV file and then converts it into a JSON file, counting the amount of listings. It then approximates the gas costs, asks the user to submit their private key, which we don't hold, and then it prepares these listings for the dissemination process, what we call the Rex indexer. So it's analogous to spinning up an Ethereum node for the first time. Everything's happening on the back end. It takes some time to get going, but when there's updates to that property in the future, it syncs much faster. So we've created these 2 stepping stones from Web 2 to Web 3. We're working on several others and talking to many other projects. And really the objective today was to continue the conversation because we believe in the next couple of years there'll be more consumer-facing applications like Rex, and these challenges will have to be overcome. So if you weren't in touch, right there, Rex MLS, and I'm Stephen King. Thank you.